Okay, we are going to get started. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I want to thank you all for coming. I am really excited to be here today to share my industry knowledge with you and a little bit about my design journey. So I want to start off by congratulating all of you. I graduated from an interior design program many years ago, and it's an incredibly demanding program. And I know how challenging it can be to manage the deadlines and balance being creative while still learning all of the required technical skills. I know a lot of you also have part-time jobs. So congratulations on being here. After this 1 hour session, you're going to feel like you are a lot more knowledgeable on the business side of design. A little bit about me and what brings me here today. I started my business 17 years ago, and after completing my interior design diploma. And my education provided me with an incredibly strong foundation in design. But what I realized when I went to start my own business, that running a business requires an entirely different skill set, one that I didn't feel that I had because I never went to business school. And I spent so I started my firm directly after school. And I spent many years developing proven systems and processes to run a streamlined and profitable interior design business. And I've since been inspired to share my knowledge on the business side of design with students so that you can have access to learning through my experience and mentorship, which is something that I never had when I first started, and I really wished that I did. Today I'm here to share the express version of my Design Your Business workshop, which is really every single detail and facet on running a profitable and streamlined interior design workshop. That workshop has 7 modules and it's 16 hours worth of information and templates and tools. So we are covering the express version of that. And the goal of today is that I prepare you so that you feel just as confident on the business aspects of your career as you do as your design skills. And whether you're thinking of starting your own business, excuse me, or joining a firm, it's incredibly important to understand the business side of design and all the moving pieces and how they interact with each other. And regardless of what position you get, if you are going to join a design firm, it will be very impressive to your employers and ultimately increase your success by knowing sort of the back end of what happens in a design firm. Please, sorry about that. So today we're going to cover 4 key factors in running a streamlined, successful business. The first one is the pitch process, how to take clients through the pitch process and how to get your first client. Then we're going to talk about balancing creativity and business. And we're going to go over client relationships, how to maintain client relationships, and how to successfully take clients through the design process. And then finally, we're going to talk about finance management, something that is really important to understand if you are going to be starting your own business. And also, it's important for designers to have insight to the finance side of things if they are joining another firm. So a lot of you, if you're thinking about starting your firm or starting a firm, probably have the same question that I did when I first started out. And something really important to mention to all of you is that I've now been in business for 17 years. I've managed to have a very steady clientele. But when I first started my business, I didn't have any access to mentors. I didn't have any sort of foot in the door or ins in the interior design industry. I really started out on my own as just graduating from school, knowing very little. So let's talk about how we get how we get clients. So something that is really, really important is to create something that's called a pitch deck, because when you start your business, you want people to have a good understanding of who you are. I'm going to show you what this looks like. And after this workshop, you are all going to receive an email with a template to a pitch deck so that you can create, so that you can edit the template and you can create your own pitch deck. So what a pitch deck is it really just talks about you. So you want to include a picture of yourself. You want to talk about you, what you do, what your skill set is, the kind of projects you like to work on. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how to create this. We're going to look at the pitch deck, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how to create this. And then what you want to do is you want to put, if you have any images of work you've done, whether you've helped a family member or a friend, you want to include some samples of your work. And if you don't have samples, then that's okay. You just want to start off with doing a little bit of a brief on yourself, what your design process is, and how you take people through that process. And like I said, you'll all get a sample of this when you complete this 1-hour webinar. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about how to get your first client. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of you are still in school. Maybe you've been helping family and friends. Maybe you've been doing things on your own with your apartments. But how to get your first, so going back to my experience, like I said, I had no foot in the door, and a really, really great way to start is to help a family member or a friend. So for example, if you have a friend that's moving into a new apartment, or a family member that just bought a new house or is looking to redo their kitchen or primary bedroom, I would focus on first starting to just help people that you know, whether you're charging them or you're not. You want to get experience in the real world, working with vendors, working with clients, and how to take them through that design process. Another really great way to get clients is to connect with real estate agents. So I'm sure a lot of you have friends that are, if you really thought about it, if you could write down 5 people who are real estate agents, I'm sure you all know people, whether it's family or friends or acquaintances, that are real estate agents. And what I would do is I would take that pitch deck that you created and I would send it to real estate agents and say, hi, I just started my own business. I'd love for you to be able to refer people. If you have any potential clients for me, here is my pitch deck. This is a little bit about me and what I do and how people can contact me. So you want to make it really easy for people to be able to get in touch with you, and for real estate agents or contractors or architects to be able to refer you. You want to do the work for them. So that's why we're going to send them a PDF of a little bit about us, and then they'll be able to forward that off to any potential clients and refer you. And like I said, pairing up with architects or contractors is another great way. And if you have friends who are in the contracting business or architects or family members that you know, it's a great idea to send that pitch and have them refer any potential clients to you. And then as you get your first client, I want to talk a little bit about how your clientele grows. This is a very, very much a referral-based business, which is why it's so important just to get your first job and not worry about anything else, getting any more jobs. Once you get your first job and you do a good job, that person will refer you, and so on and so forth. And that's how you build your clientele. So for example, my first job was with a client who actually, one of my closest friends is a real estate agent, and she referred me to one of her clients who bought a new home. And I helped this lady. I think I was actually still in school when I was helping her. And I did a great job for her. We developed a great relationship. And then she referred me to her friend. And then that friend referred me to somebody else. And slowly it snowballed. And that's how I built my clientele. So you only have to worry about getting one job at a time, and people will slowly refer you. Okay, so now let's assume you got your first job, whether it's someone who's looking to redo their kitchen or their bathroom. Sorry, you didn't get your first job. Let's assume somebody referred you and a potential client gets in touch with you. What do we do with that client, and how do we take them through the pitch process? This is really, really important. So the client reaches out. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to request more information for them. We're going to say, thank you so much for getting in touch and your interest in my services. And can you tell me a little bit more about your project? What room are you looking to do? Are you looking to renovate? Are you looking to buy furniture? Are you looking to do millwork? And then what we're going to do because knowledge is power. So once we have the information of what they're looking to do, we're then going to send out information on our process, and we're going to outline a potential meeting time to set up, to go over our process and learn more about their project. Remember, we haven't won the project yet. We're just gathering information, and then we're going to send out information on our process. So now we have set up a meeting with the client, and we're going to be going over our process with them. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to let them speak about their project, because this is really a really exciting time for them. They're looking to redo their room or redo their kitchen or their whole home, and they're excited about it and want to tell you what their vision is. So after we let them speak, we're then going to present our process and our deliverables to them. So we're going to say, okay, this is going to involve 3 meetings. This is what we're going to do within each meeting. I'm going to provide you with a floor plan, finishes, whatever it is that you're going to do. And then we're going to give them an approximate price range. This is all through speaking during the meeting. And the reason why we're going to give them an approximate price range is because we want to leave wiggle room for negotiation. So let's say we're redoing someone's room and we're charging them between $1,500 and $2,500. So if we give them a price range, an approximate price range, that allows us to get feedback from them to say, like, okay, my budget is sort of around this. And then we can go back and take that information when we go to prepare a proposal for them. During the call, we always want to make sure, whether it's a call or a meeting, we want to thank them. And we want to make sure that they know that we are very excited about the potential of working with them. It's very important to express that you're excited about the potential of working on the project. We want to ask them if they want us to prepare a proposal. And then if they say yes, we're going to go and we're going to prepare a proposal. And then we're going to outline next steps. So next steps, for example, could be, I'm going to prepare a proposal and you'll hear from me by end of day on Tuesday. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about how to charge. So I always suggest charging a set fee. And the reason why I suggest charging a set fee rather than an hourly fee, it really allows us to ensure that we're going to be compensated appropriately. So we know that if we tell them this is going to take approximately 10 hours and we're charging them X amount, we know that they've agreed to that amount, and there's never going to be an argument as, I don't understand why it took you so long and you're charging me so much. We've had them signed off on the hours, and then they have agreed to pay the amount that we have presented to them. It also allows clients to budget appropriately for their design services. So when clients are going through this process, they have to assess a lot of different things. They have to assess their designer's fees. They have to assess potentially contracting fees, costs of furniture, costs of installation. So there's a lot of things to consider. And this really allows them to have a good understanding of how much the overall project is going to cost. And it also manages client expectations. Okay, I always suggest when you are doing a project, so let's say we're doing Victoria's kitchen, okay? She wants to redo her kitchen. I always suggest dividing the phases, dividing the project and the process into 2 phases. So the first phase is the design and the budgeting. And that's going to be when we're preparing our floor plans, we're choosing finishes, and we're doing presentations. And the payments are associated with milestones. So for example, we present Victoria her floor plan of her kitchen and her finishes, and then she gives us a payment after we do the presentation. And then we do the next presentation. Maybe it's a revisions meeting. Maybe we're showing her her plumbing fixtures during that meeting, and then she owes us a payment. So phase 1 is design and budgeting. Phase 2 is execution and project management. So now Victoria has signed off on her finishes, her floor plan, her elevations, and now we're moving into phase 2 of the project, which is when the contractors are coming in and they're doing the work. And our involvement is that we're in communication with the contractor and making sure everything is being built out to what we've specified. And that is a monthly management fee, whatever that fee is, whether it's $200 or $400, we are charging a fee for the project management of the execution phase. And the reason why I recommend doing it this way is because we want to make sure that we are getting paid for every month that we are working on this project. So sometimes you might think, and the contractor might say it's going to take 6 months, but then it takes 12 months. So we want to make sure that we are getting paid for every month that we are working on the project. Okay, so when we are preparing a proposal, there's 5 really, really important things that we want to include on the proposal. We want to define the areas of focus. So we are working specifically, the job is limited to the kitchen area. We're going and then we want to define the scope, what we're doing. So we're going to outline the drawings that we're going to do, that we're going to provide finishes, hardware, all those details so that it's very clearly outlined for our potential client. And then we're going to outline the process and the proposed schedule. So we're going to outline what Victoria can expect. So meeting 1, we're going to review your space plan and your proposed budget. Meeting 2, we're going to review your finishes. Meeting 3, we're going to review your plumbing fixtures. And then we're going to look at your drawing package. And then we want to outline the fees. So what it's going to cost, and then the payments and the mile and when the payments are to be made, so that everything is outlined very, very clearly. Okay, so now we're moving into the design process where, remember, there's 2 phases. We have the design phase, and then we have the project management phase. And one thing that can be really tricky as a designer is to balance creativity with business, because we are all innately very creative. But when you are running your own business or working for a design firm, it is very, very important to understand that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, sorry. To understand that we need to take clients through a very streamlined process, because we need to be efficient with our time, right? Because eventually we're going to be working on more than one project. And as we enter the design process, if you're working for a firm, something that is very, very important to have a good understanding of and insight to is your employer has done a lot of work, as you can see, prior to putting this job on in your project scope. So they have worked very hard by meeting with these people. They're probably going up against other design firms, putting together a proposal. So it's very, very important that when you get a project, you understand that it didn't just come to your employer. They worked really hard to land the project. And for those of you who are starting your own firms, you will see when you go through the proposal phase that quite a bit of work goes in before we even get the project. So when we are doing a design project, 50% of the success of the project relies on creativity and the ability to design, which at the end of your programs, all of you will absolutely have that ability. And the other 50% is on the ability to execute with precision, because we know that there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to executing a design project. And by execution, I mean by bringing the project to life. We've designed everything in phase 1, and in phase 2, now we're going to bring it to life, whether it's this kitchen renovation that's going to be built out and the millwork's going to be installed, or it could just be a family room where we're choosing furniture, and now we're placing the orders and we're having everything delivered. The execution part of the project is incredibly important. So we're going to go back now, because we're going to assume that the client has accepted the proposal, and now we are moving into into phase 1, which is the design process. And I want to look a little bit about at the client experience and the emotional phases that clients go through. So something that is really, really important to understand about client relationships is that this is an emotional experience for clients. This is likely their home. If it's their home, it's a very emotional experience. It's where they spend a lot of their time. And they're going to experience different emotions throughout the process. And that's important as a designer to understand whether you are working for somebody or starting your own firm. So we're in phase one. Remember, phase one is when they're seeing all the beautiful things. They're looking at space plans, finishes. This is the exciting part of the process because clients are seeing beautiful things. They're starting to envision their home and they're seeing their ideas come to life. So usually phase one is associated with really positive emotions. And this is when the relationship between the designer and the client is usually very positive. Okay, so now that we know that the clients are going to be starting to envision their home, we need to talk about what it looks like to prepare for a presentation, because we want to make sure that we are taking our clients through a very streamlined process. And again, whether you are starting your own business or you are working for a firm, if you're working for a firm, that firm will have their own way of preparing for a presentation, and they'll have probably the same process for every project so that they have a streamlined way of taking people through the experience. And if you're starting your own firm, then it will be very important for you to have a very streamlined process. So a very important thing consistently for everybody is to review the scope of work. And that means to take a look at the scope of work, whether it's you that's provided it or it's your employer that's provided it, and make sure that you are very familiar with the process, with the project, what you're supposed to provide for these clients, what rooms you're doing, and what has been promised to them. Then we're going to review their inspirational images because they've probably provided inspirational images, and we want to make sure that we have a good idea of what they're looking to achieve. After that, if you are starting your own business, this is the process that I suggest for preparing for a presentation. We're going to create space plans, okay, of all the floors or all the rooms that we're doing. And then we're going to prepare a proposed budget so that clients have a good understanding before we start choosing any of the finishes or the fabrics or the furniture, what this project is going to cost them. And if you are not familiar with preparing a proposed budget, it's a itemized budget by room that outlines everything that's required for the project. And as students, you're probably not very familiar with what things cost. So what I recommend doing is, let's say you're doing a family room, a decorating project, I would suggest going on to Crate and Barrel or CB2 and just looking at prices of sofas, coffee tables, everything that's required based on your space plan, throw pillows, so that you can put budgetary numbers and get a good sense of what it is that the project is going to cost. And then we want to start. So now we have our space plans, we have our proposed budget, and then we can start sourcing and preparing a presentation. So what does a presentation look like when we are presenting to clients? We want to make sure that we have a detailed floor plan. This is just an example of a second floor of a home where you want to show that where all the furniture is, outline the rugs, side tables. If it is a renovation project, you want to outline how you are space planning and doing the walls. And then we want to have all of the samples prepared on a table or on a tray like you see on the left-hand side, so that we can show our clients what finishes we're choosing for what areas, and they can envision the whole thing together. Because people are visual, so it's really, really important that you don't show things piecemeal and you show them everything all together. Then we want to make sure at some point throughout the presentations, we're showing them elevations. Of course, if you have the capabilities to do concept renders, it's always a lot easier for people to envision the finishes if they can see a concept render. Okay, so let's assume that we have completed phase one of the project, which is the design process. Clients have signed off on all of their finishes. They're very excited. Victoria is very excited to see her kitchen. And now we are moving on to phase two, which is the execution phase. Okay. It's very, very important to understand that, sorry, this should have a sad face, not a happy face. So phase two of the project is a lot more stressful for clients because they're parting with money. It's really stressful. Sometimes they might be seeing renovation in their current home, which can create a lot of emotion for people and stress. So can be a really stressful part of the process. And we're going to talk a little bit about client relationships and how to manage client expectations throughout the process as well. So in order to manage clients' emotions through phase two of the project and ensure that they are having a successful and positive experience, we want to ensure that we have very fluid communication with the contractor. What does this mean? It means that contractors should be updated regularly throughout the process so that they have all of the necessary information, whether it's specifications on plumbing or tile schedules. It's really, really important that we have good communication with the contractors that we're working with. And we can share this information through a shared folder, whether it's on Dropbox or Google Drive, so that everything is updated in a live format, and they can reference these folders whenever they need information pertaining to the project. It's also very, very important during phase two for it to be successful that we have drawings and schedules. Our drawing package combined with our schedules, and when I talk about schedules, I'm talking about plumbing schedules, tile schedules, paint schedules, anything required to the finishing of the space. The schedules combined with the drawing package should act almost as a manual and a guide for the contractors to build out the interior of the space. So we want to ensure that they have all of the necessary information so that the two of you can work together and ensure that it's a successful experience for the clients. That doesn't mean the client's not going to experience those hard emotions, of stress and anxiety, but it means that we should be able to manage it throughout phase two by having a very streamlined and organized process. Okay, like I said, we want to talk a little bit about client relationships and how to manage it because it is a big part of design. Again, whether you are working for a design firm or you're starting your own design firm, if you're working for a design firm, you're still going to be engaging with clients and building relationships with them over time. And it is really important to have a good understanding how to ensure a positive relationship. So let's review the emotional phases of a project. So during the initial meeting, when clients are meeting with you or your employer, telling them about the project, they're really, really excited because they're starting their new home or redoing their kitchen, and it's a really, really exciting time. Then we're going to provide clients with a proposed budget, and no matter what, they're going to have some negative emotions because it's going to cost them more than they thought it was. Most of the time, people don't have a good idea of what these projects cost. And so that can cause some anxiety for clients when they see that proposed budget. And then we're going to move into the design meetings. And like I said, this is the exciting time. This is when they are starting to envision their home, and it's really exciting for them. They're seeing all the fabrics and the furniture and the beautiful things. And then they get their final budget. And again, they start to experience those negative emotions, stress and anxiety. And when they start moving into receiving invoices for all of the things they're ordering, again, they're parting with money. These projects cost a lot of money, and that can also be stressful for clients. And contracting and renovations can also be stressful. So as a reminder, phase one is usually very, very positive, exciting, and phase two can be stressful. Excuse me. During the final installation, when clients are ready to, let's say, move into their home, or Victoria's ready to see their new kitchen, a lot of people, especially me, myself, I would always see in the early years of my career, I would always see that clients, it was really mixed emotions. Like sometimes they were excited, sometimes they weren't excited, and they were really stressed out. And I could never really understand why this wasn't an exciting time for them. But throughout experience, what I learned and realized is that finishing a project can really be filled, it can be a mixed bag of emotions, because if someone's moving into a new home, they're leaving an old home with a lot of memories that they have with their family or their partner, whoever it is that they lived with. If they are redoing their kitchen, or like I said, moving, they're also going through the moving process with which can be really stressful for people, packing and moving and organizing and changing environments. And then also it's they a lot of the time by the end of the project, people are depleted because they're fatigued, I should say, because it's a long process. Like any relationship, our client relationships are long relationships. And what I want everybody to understand is, if you compare a client relationship to a sibling relationship or a partner relationship, we know that nobody is happy in a long-term relationship from day one all throughout, right? We all experience different emotions and ups and downs. And if we can prepare ourselves for those emotions, then it makes it a lot easier for us to deal with clients when they are experiencing those negative emotions, right? If we don't take it personally, and we know that these emotions are expected. So what can we do to ensure that we have excellent customer service? And again, whether you are working for a firm or starting your own firm, client communication and excellent customer service is a key factor to running a successful project, okay? Because we have to remember that clients are paying a lot of money for our services. And whether it is, if you're working for an employer or it is your own business, we know that at the end of this project, we want these people to be happy and we want them to refer us, because it's a referral-based business. So for those who are starting their own businesses, it's really important to do a good job and ensure that we are facilitating positive client relationships. And for those who are working for firms, you will propel in your career when your employer sees that they can put you on a project and that you are able to build a really positive client relationship. And at the end of that, they get a great Google review. There is nothing better than a team member successfully completing a project and being able to get a really great client review from a client. So we always want to ensure that everything is conveyed clearly to our clients in communication. So for example, if we're writing our clients an email, we want to think about, is there anything that they could possibly ask me? Like, what questions might they have? We always want to outline in the email next steps. So we're sending them information or an update, and then what they can expect to happen next, so that they feel at ease in the process and that you are on top of things. The other thing is that we only ever want to deliver work that is 150%. And this is really, really important for people that are working at firms as well. If your employer asks you to do something, whether it's cleaning a sample library or putting together a presentation or a color palette, you never want to show it to your employer or your client unless it's 150% and you're proud of it. And again, we want to create the best designs possible and create as seamless of a process as possible. When we are communicating with clients, we want to make sure that we are communicating through email or having verbal communication on the phone. Some older clients prefer to speak on the phone. And if we are doing that, we want to make sure that we are confirming everything through written documentation in an email. The reason why texting, WhatsApp, and Instagram is not a good way to communicate with clients is because it's very hard, number one, to keep track of communication. And if clients are making decisions, we want to be able to have everything in one organized format. And we want to be able to share things with our team members by CCing people, and we can't do that through texting. So email is the best form of communication, or verbal communication for those clients who prefer it, and then we confirm everything in written documentation. Now I want to talk about resolving client issues, because when you get into the real world and you start working for a firm or you start working for yourself, it's it's unavoidable. Like there will be client issues that come about. And I truly believe it's about how we handle these issues and how we show up to them that determines the outcome. So the very first thing we want to do, even we don't want to go into defense mode, okay? We always want to listen to our clients because we want to remember that people like to be heard. So if your client's upset about something and they come to you and they're at a 10, and you just listen to them and let them be heard, they will automatically go from a 10 to an 8, okay? Then we want to sympathize with them. So let's say Victoria is really upset with me. She calls me, she said, you promised me my cabinets were going to be in by Friday. Now they're delayed till Wednesday. I'm supposed to have people from out of town coming in or whatever it is that she's upset with him. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to Victoria. I'm going to let her vent and tell me how upset she is. Then I'm going to sympathize with her. I'm going to say, Victoria, I totally understand. I would be upset too. That's what I always say to my clients. I would be upset too. I completely understand where you're coming from. Then I'm going to reassure her that I'm here to work with her and make this project as seamless as possible. So Victoria, I'm here. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to figure out what it is that I can do to either expedite this along or to figure out, put a solution in place so that we can have a makeshift, something makeshift for you so that you can accommodate your family who's coming in from out of town. And then you're going to propose your solution. And if you don't have a solution, you're going to tell her what to expect next. So you're going to say, I don't have a solution for you right now, but give me until the end of day tomorrow and I will propose one for you. Or what I would say to her is, I would say, let me speak to the cabinet company. I'm going to see what I can do and pull some strings and I will get back to you. Whatever it is, we just want to reassure our clients that we are there for them and we're going to do everything in our power to make it happen, whatever it is that they need to happen. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about financial management. And for those of you who are starting your own firms, of course, financial management is really, really important. And we're going to go through the basics of what that looks like when you're starting a firm. And for those of you who are going to join another firm, it is very important for you to have insight to what kind of financial responsibilities your employers have. Because as employers, they have payroll, they have a lot of expenses, and it's very, very important to be, grateful for that opportunity, have insight into what it takes to run a design firm. So let's talk a little bit about cash flow management. What a cash flow spreadsheet is, and we're going to look at one shortly. It gives us an overview of the projects that we have, so the money that we have coming in and the money that we have going out of our account. So money that we have coming in is considered revenue, okay? And revenue comes into our business in two ways: from our services, so from charging people for our design services, and then from furniture and materials. And if you are starting your own business, it is very, very important to make sure that you are making money on both of these things. It's very hard to run a profitable business without making money on services as well as furniture and materials. Okay, so that's our revenue. It's very simple. It comes in two ways. Then we have something called expenses. So on our cash flow spreadsheet at the top, it's going to have the revenue, and at the bottom, it's going to have the expenses. Our expenses can be things such as like fixed costs. So like a fixed cost could be your rent. If you're working from home, these are things that you can expense, which is a really big bonus of having your own business. Insurance, your computers, computer software, things that don't change from month to month, they're consistent. So every month your rent is X amount. Variable expenses are things that change from month to month. So a variable expense could be something like a photo shoot if you're photographing a project, if you're buying a client a gift, anything marketing related. And like if you are doing an Instagram paid post, that would be a variable expense. And then personal expenses are things that we can expense through our business because we have our own business. So things like car insurance or car lease payments, dining out can be expensed if you're taking clients out. So now what we're going to do is we are going to look at what a cash flow spreadsheet looks like, okay? And if you, just gonna zoom in on this. Okay, so you can see here at the top is our revenue, okay? We have two types of revenue. We have design income, and I've listed project 1 to 5, assuming that you have 5 projects. And then basically in every column here, you would put the expected money that's coming in every month. And you would know the expected money if you're a business owner because you've put together proposals and you know that you're going to have meeting 1 in January. So you're going to get X amount, meeting 2 in February, you're going to get X amount. And then you're going to put in your furniture income. So how much you're going to be making off of furniture. The bottom goes through all of our expenses. So the things that we just spoke about. So if you are an employer, as if you're working for another company, then that company has employee expenses, right? They have to pay payroll. And if you're starting your own business, eventually you'll start hiring people, maybe in years to come. So that will be an additional expense. And then we have our fixed costs, our variable expenses, and then we have our personal expenses down at the bottom. Okay, and then the way a cash flow spreadsheet works, and it's very important to have one of these, is now you have your bank balance at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month. So all of these formulas in the spreadsheet will add up and show how much money you can expect to have at the end of every month after your expenses are deducted from your revenue, and then that equals your profit. And again, if you take my course, my full course, you will get this spreadsheet among many other schedules and tools and templates. I give all of those to all of my students so that you're really ready to go and start your own business. But this is just an overview of it for now. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about bank account setup. Very important when you start your own business that you have two separate bank accounts. You have business checkings, and that is your cash flow money. So that's your profit. So your revenue minus your expenses is in your business checkings account. Then you want to have a tax savings account, and that is money that you need to pay for taxes. So for example, in Ontario, we have HST. In New York, there's a different tax. Everybody has their different taxes that they charge on services. If it applies, you always want to take that money and put it into a separate account because that money needs to be paid to the government, and you don't want to get confused, which is between what's yours and what needs to be paid out. So really important to have two separate bank accounts. So that really that gives you a really good overview on the key factors of what goes into in running an interior design firm. And like I said earlier, you know, whether you are whether you're serious about if you're serious about taking your interior design business, starting your own interior design business, then the full workshop of DYB will give you a complete overview with all the tools and templates, and really give you insight into a step-by-step guide. And I'd love to open it up and answer any questions that anybody has related to this or about the industry. And for those of you who are not a part of Design Talk, it's a free community that I run where it's a great place to connect with other designers. You can scan the barcode and just make sure you fill out the questions, and then I'll accept you into the group. So please do that if you're not already a member. And if anybody has any questions, if you just want to unmute yourself and maybe just write it in the chat, and then I can answer them for you. Or Reed, I saw that you said that you were not able to see my screen. Can everybody just unmute themselves and confirm that you could see my screen?
I can see the screen.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Or Reed, can you not see it?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, I wasn't able to see the spreadsheet, but you explained that.
Oh, was everybody else able to see it?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry
okay.
about that.
Oh, maybe it's because I'm on my iPad, so maybe that's why. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. You just gave me a slight panic attack, so I'm glad that I thought maybe I did the whole presentation and nobody could see my
No.
screen.
Sorry.
That's okay. Does anybody have any questions? And what I want to say is that like there is no question that is, that is a silly question. Like I'm here to help you guys and give you insight into the industry. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you have.
Stacy, do you do your own concept renders or do you send those out?
I do my own concept renders. I have somebody in my office who does them, but there are a lot of companies that offer that service, but we do them in-house. I have a team of 5 or 6 people, so I have the capabilities to do them.
And what software are you using for those?
We're using Photoshop.
Okay.
Yeah. We have used Google SketchUp in the past, but I find that Photoshop, it just makes it a lot more realistic.
Okay.
Stacy, I'm curious about, I'm in design school and I've worked in the field a bit. So there's a lot that I'm very comfortable with. The one thing that I'm curious about when starting on your own is the relationship with contractors. So when you are going through like the initial phases of things that maybe you haven't experienced before, like what was your experience with that? Like I guess my question is about like feeling unsure of things when you're talking with contractors and not wanting to seem like you don't know certain things.
I think that's a really good question. So my whole way of kind of navigating that when I first started out, and like I'm still learning things, right? Like we should never stop learning. I would always be really, really honest with people. Like I would say to them, like, listen, like I'm new in the industry. I would never say this to clients, and I'll touch on what we do with clients when we they ask us something and we don't know something. But I would always say to people, like, I'm new to this. Like, I'm not like, what is that you're talking about? Like, I don't know what a door stopper is or whatever it is that they're asking. Like, would you mind explaining it to me? I would always be very transparent, and I would find like those that were professional, they would be more than happy, right? Because everybody started somewhere, and we don't need to pretend to know things that we don't know in front of contractors. When it comes to clients, what I would say is that it's really important to know, and this was a really good lesson for me, and I always talk about this in my workshop, for people that however confident you are, or however much you think you might not know, you know a lot more than your client. Okay. That's why they've hired you. And the way you present and the way you speak is very, very important. It's very important to speak to clients with conviction, to be confident in your choices, and so that they feel reassured, like this person knows what she's doing. If a client asks you a question and you don't know the answer, what I always say to people, what I would say is, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. And then go into my group. Like the people do this all the time. They'll be like, someone asked me this, I don't know what it means, or I'm in this situation. Can you help me? Like, that's what I love about this group, is that it's so, the community is free, by the way, the one that, like, I'm not talking about my course, the community that you see there is free. And yeah, like just go and find the answer, and and then go back to the client. But did I answer your question, sort of how to navigate the contractor thing?
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that. And I think my concern was saying that I don't know something to maybe lose credibility, but I appreciate your stance on just being honest because there's only one way to learn. So
It
thank
really is. Yeah, you're welcome. And like I had a meeting last week and I went to a plumbing supplier and he was talking to me about something. And I said to him, honestly, I said, and I talk about this in my workshop as well. I said, as designers, we are responsible for knowing so much. Like I'm responsible for sourcing toilets and I'm responsible for choosing pillows and everything in between. And it's impossible to know every single thing about every category, right? So we really rely on our vendors and our trades to educate us and help us make the best decisions for our clients. And where I'm going with this is back to that experience. Is I went to this plumbing supplier who I've been working with for a long time, and I said, I don't know what that is. Like, can you explain it? Can you please explain it to me? And I've been in the business for 17 years. So there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
So I'm an interior design student at SDSU, and my plan is once I'm out is to start with an interior design firm and then maybe start my own business later in life.
Okay.
Would you say it's important that I pick an interior design firm, like look at interior design firms that I'm going to be doing with in the future? Because I'm looking at in terms of clientele, because I'm looking at doing residential clients, but like being very specific with my designs. So would it be
Can
important
you give me an
for,
example about like what do you mean about being specific
so like
with your designs?
so like specific location and style. So I really like rustic type
I
in terms
see.
of like a
Okay.
style. And so would it be important when I'm just starting out to just look specific at a style or
I
like that?
understand now. My answer to that is no, it's not important about style. What's important I'm assuming if you want to go and work for a firm, you want to learn um, about how like the office how it works, right? Like the process
Yes.
and the business side. And I think that's a lot more important than the aesthetics of the firm. Of course, you want to work somewhere where where you like the aesthetic, but I don't think it's important to work within that specific style.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, Brielle, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
You should take a look at my course because you might change your mind about starting your own thing after you look at this course and you take it. Because this workshop literally this is not a workshop that I created for students. Well, it is a workshop that I created for students. This is a workshop that gives away every single thing that I do in my own business, from contracts, proposals. Nothing was edited. Like it's all literally, and it literally tells you how to take a client through the process from beginning to start. It gives you every single thing that you need to basically run an interior design firm. So like if you were eager to start, this would literally save you 10 years worth of learning from somebody else. It's 16 hours worth of content and it gives you every single thing that you need. So it might be worth it for you just to look at it.
Okay. And when was this offered? Is it just
I'm starting a new cohort actually in the beginning of April, and I can follow up with you and send you the information on it.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Of course, yeah. And I see Amira has asked a question. Amira, yes, I will send you the link to the full course. I'll put it in the chat. And the presentation is not recorded and available, but I will be doing it again. If you want to be on the list for when I do it again, then I can make sure that I add you to it.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Lauren, I absolutely will. No problem, Amira. Anybody else?
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful workshop and very helpful.
No
Yes, thank you. This was
problem.
great.
It's my absolute pleasure. I'm really, really committed to, like I said, like I've been in your guys' shoes before, and it's really different being in school and then kind of going into the real world, and it can be really intimidating, right? So my whole goal is to sort of offer mentorship to students, and I do that every day in my design community, and just to kind of help you guys with the transition from going to school, from school into the real world. So thank you for being here. And I will be doing another one for those of you who are going to be joining a design firm. I will also be doing a workshop in the coming months on how to how to get the perfect job for you in the interior design world, and then how to be successful at that job, like skills that employers are looking for in new employees. So I'll make sure that you guys all get invited, and I'm seeing all of your comments, and it's really nice to know that this was helpful. So thank you so much for everybody's feedback. Okay, I'm going to quickly put the link in the chat. Let me stop screen sharing. For those who asked the link, it's right here, and all you have to do is click on the virtual workshop, and then you can check out. And then the other thing is, when you do the virtual workshop, you also get access to, we have weekly Zoom calls, and they're kind of like this, where you can just ask questions related to the industry. You can ask questions about the workshop, and be connected with like-minded people, which I think is always a great thing. Okay, did everybody get what they need? Did you all join Design Talk? You all got the link? Thank you, all of you, for joining. Really great to meet you all, and good luck. And I hope to see you in my community. Take care, everyone.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.